listening to the Moist Boys Podcast.
One that she didn't watch today.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Moist Boys Podcast.
Is it a Moist Boys podcast, or is it two of us talking about something and two of us just giggling incoherently?
I mean,
So that's a Moist
Boys podcast. Yeah,
actually.
like that's no different than anything else.
But yeah, today we're talking about Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi.
I had to do math really fast.
I know. I was like, wait.
This also will end up marking our 1-year anniversary episode.
Nice.
We made it.
So we've been.
And if you can't tell, this may not be the first video we've recorded today, so we may be a little bit
The first what? We've done what?
This might not even be a video.
It's probably a podcast.
Oh, yeah, wait. Fucking okay. That checks out. Hey, I mean, that's discounting all of Josh's work, like editing together those cool little like non-static images. Those are great. So, fuck all y'all.
Anyway. Today we're talking about The Last Jedi,
Yeah.
a certainly not controversial Star Wars film. I don't think I don't think there's anyone that has any strong feelings about this.
I don't think so.
No, it's hands down
movie.
the best one.
I'm pretty
online.
sure that if you ask the internet will tell you that there's nothing.
Yeah.
It was
a fine movie,
seems
and
pretty cut and
everybody
dry.
had an okay time.
everybody liked it.
Yeah.
Pretty cut and dry.
All right. Episode's over. Thanks
Good.
for coming
Thanks
by,
for coming
guys.
out, guys.
Head
Have a
on
good
over
night,
to our
everybody.
Patreon page.
Yep. Smash that like button.
Smash that
I was
button.
gonna say I like pulled my mic over.
Excuse me. Sorry. Yeah.
But no, that's not right.
But that's not right.
Oh wait a minute.
Back to reality.
Back to where we live, which is the
Yeah.
darkest timeline.
Where I'm gonna say fuckboy a lot because really,
I don't know. See, you
Not
do
necessarily-
say fuckboy a lot,
Yeah.
but I'm curious to know what your definition of fuckboy is.
It's not necessarily the fuckboys that are the problem with
it's
this
because
one.
that's the only term I can remember when
I
I,
was-
want to talk about the misogynistic.
Yeah.
It's the incels.
The incels. Yeah.
Incels are the enemy of
Which,
the people.
By the way, I'm reading a really great webtoon right now where there are princes who are incels and they're called the princels.
Ha! I like it.
And I want to call every incel a princel now because you're a pretty little princess, you little incel.
Anyways,
Anyway,
I'm Josh.
I am Harley.
I'm the best bro, Heather.
and I am extremely inebriated.
He really is.
He's also Jonathan.
I'm also Jonathan.
He is, and will always be.
Josh is not inebriated. He can't tell anything
Yeah.
of our shit.
No,
Josh is the only one who isn't.
I'm sober.
I'm not drunk. I have only had this one beverage.
Because you weren't pulling from the bottle of gin like Harley and
A
I.
bottle of gin.
Yeah,
In our infinite sadness.
truly.
I think this would be good. We did this for one of the other episodes. We did,
Our
George
Clooney's?
Clooney's first.
yeah,
Nice.
Oh,
because I think,
controversial.
Oof.
well, it's kind of,
It'll really set the bar for who's going to attack who in
yeah,
this episode.
that's
See,
true.
but I like being able to remember things when
Well,
you guys
maybe-
talk about it
yeah.
before I give my Clooney.
But I think it's good going in, understanding where you stand, because I do think that at the end of the episode, I know, because I'm very easily swayed. I am definitely, like, I'm not giving my full 100% adulterated? No, wait. Unbiased opinion. Well, very biased, always biased, but I think it makes sense if we did it before and after, personally, but don't let me steer this ship.
Or we could give general impressions: must watch, don't watch, or
Yeah.
well, I mean,
And then
if you're gonna
Clooney's
watch,
later.
if you're watching the Star Wars films, you kind of have to watch them all.
kind of
Yeah,
have to
You
watch
kinda
it.
have to,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say all Star Wars films are a much watch for one reason
Or a
another.
much watch.
Much watch.
A much watch.
Because, I mean, you know, with 18-hour total runtime, it's a much watch.
I
Much
must
watch
watch all these.
2017, the best hits of the aughts and on.
and onwards.
It's not an odd.
Whatever. So, Josh, would you like to lead us in your
Ooh,
Clooneyism?
I like it.
I'm going to give this 6.8 Cloonies.
Ooh, out of
0.8.
Yeah.
Get that weak ass shit out of here.
Hate that.
Again, I mean,
you
I
can
feel
either
like
have
I-
a softy 7 again.
Do your flaccid 7, like on Rogue One when we had the fuck, marry, kill of 7s.
I'm going to give this a slightly more flaccid 7
I
than
was gonna say
Rogue
wow.
One.
Yeah, giving this the same score as Rogue One. That's interesting to me, considering.
It's a little bit more flaccid. There's a lot more baffling decisions made in this movie.
Yeah.
It's not so much
Than
that it's
Rogue
just
One.
flaccid. It's just like it's been in the underwear all day, and so it's like it's just stuck.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
sweaty.
yeah.
Oh.
And also slightly
Lord.
confused about why things are happening that are happening on the screen.
It checks out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think honestly, like again, using my sliding scale of just Star Wars, considering I also gave Rogue One a just rock solid 7, and I know the rest, like the original trilogy, has been around in like the 8 and 9. The prequels are below that. I mean, I would say, yeah, I would put this together. I would lump this in with like Rogue One as far as my overall enjoyment. And again, I will say that, which is really funny because I think this always is kind of the spectrum of opinions. I actually liked this movie, and I don't have that many complaints, and I would still give it a 7 overall.
I'm very much in the same camp. I actually found it really interesting that I'm going to rate this the same as Josh, though mine's not a flaccid hanging out in the underwear 7. Mine's a right before we're about to have sex 7.
Gratuitous.
Yikes.
This is a
I
family
find it
channel,
interesting
Heather.
that- yeah,
Oh,
no,
fuck
it's not.
off.
Fuck off, it's not. I think it's really interesting because I definitely thought that I would have I thought Josh was going to go much lower
I did too, actually. But
because he likes to complain about this one a lot.
I mean, I think this one has the most like notable departures from what you think of as a Star Wars film. I guess being a part of the original trilogy, obviously not counting the Star Wars stories or anthology, but
Yeah,
Right,
so
yeah.
I would give this a 7.
yeah. Johnny,
John Bear,
Fuck.
take us home.
Take us home.
what you got? Are we all just going to agree and then we can just turn this off and be done?
Shit, did we
Never
just
happened?
fix the internet?
I mean-
we just solved racism. If everybody gives The Last Jedi a 7,
No.
we just fixed everything.
my god.
Okay. All right. Mr.
Nobody
Jin.
hates Kelly Marie Tran anymore. Nobody is mad that there's a woman at the head of a Star Wars film.
God
Can you
damn
just
it.
drink that and just give us your
I'm just
number?
gonna drink more gin.
Drink your drink and give us your score.
Yeah, I think this one gets this one. I know I skew high on Star Wars
Same.
a lot, like, but
It's a sliding scale. I mean, at least for me. But
I think I don't know if it slides so much for me or if it's just like I just have my my Star Wars, then they just all are set within those like that 1 to 10 regardless of what the but like yeah, I think I'm gonna go 7. Fuck off with me checking the time, you piece of shit. Yeah, this one's a 7 for me.
yeah. Okay. Well, let's work it out. How do we all get here?
Let's hash it out. Let's get into it.
3 days later, or 3 days before.
3 days prior. Let's go back. Flashback.
We must go back, Marty.
Yeah.
I think my two, like overall, I think my two biggest problems with, or the two things this movie does.
Please, again, go check us out on our Patreon so we can afford
A
childcare.
babysitter.
Yeah.
For the love of
Subscribe to
God.
our Patreon
Exactly.
so that then it has somebody to go hang out with.
Yeah.
Or he doesn't
Yeah.
get to stare at me through the bars of the baby gate.
just
Yeah.
wanting to be on the channel.
Just watch your movie, buddy.
The two things that the biggest things that bug me about this are, one, a lot of the characters are done real dirty,
Yeah.
and two, the like people talk about how this movie kind of like subverts a lot of the themes of Star Wars, but the way that it ends up doing it is in a like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we kind of went out and dated? Oh, I'm just kidding. No, of course. No, we're just friends. It'd be unless. No, I'm just kidding. Unless. And then at the end, it's like they just kind of goes home unhappy because he didn't get the girl at the end. And you're just kind of like,
It's just you and your hand tonight.
Boy, howdy if I know how that goes.
Because it tries to dismantle the dark and light, like, binary.
The rule of two.
Yeah. Or like the other ones did. But then at the end of the movie, they kind of just like, no, you got the light and the dark again.
Yeah.
And then, because like Kylo Ren's whole thing is that he wants to dismantle the light and the dark.
Yeah. But then
he wants to rule the galaxy with Rey, and I'm just like, but that's exactly
evil.
That's exactly what we've been dealing with this whole time.
Yeah.
My issue with this movie is that everything that Rogue One does right to show like shades of gray within the rebellion, this movie does everything wrong in showing those shades of gray.
Well, and that's the thing, because Rogue One and this film, I think, share a lot of like narrative through, and they have a lot of the same. It's a real party in the living room.
God damn.
Right? Yeah, I think they share a lot of the same themes, but just as far as like execution, and again, I think it really is the difference in like how you're able to handle the introduction of those kinds of themes into what is it now? Like a trilogy of trilogies. like there's so much baggage with these films, whereas now, like in Rogue One, they can kind of just introduce new characters, new concepts without like a lot of that, I guess, legwork done. I don't know. Yeah. I would say for me, I share the same feeling that, well, I don't necessarily think like characters are done dirty. I think that they...
No.
I just rewatched it today.
Yeah.
Some characters are done dirty.
I mean, yes, but I mean, I think it makes some sense as far as like the characterization.
Tell me what Finn does for the entire fucking movie.
I mean, he goes on a dumb adventure, and that whole deal with them on the casino planet, and basically the whole like PETA movement thing with the animals, like
even his introduction where he literally hits his head and then is spraying juice all over the ship as he's wandering around.
That's true. Yeah, I mean,
they took Finn, who was pretty, I'd say, monumental in Force Awakens, and was necessary to move a plot line. He moved the plot along.
Yeah,
like his character did that. To have him become a comedic sidekick who did fuck all.
Yeah,
that's true.
For this movie was they did him dirty.
So, in regards to the characterizations of the characters that are characters in this film that we're watching. Sorry, I'm a little scatterbrained right now, so I'm trying to bring it back here home.
Bringing it back. Bring it home.
So I was just saying how I don't necessarily... while I agree that there are certain characters that were done dirty, I think that it makes sense considering what they were trying to do narratively, and Josh is looking at me like I'm not close enough to the mic. So, hello, everyone.
So you're basically saying that Finn was the new C.
Yeah. So I had mentioned off camera, off mic. I know. Fuck off. I had mentioned off mic that the main problem that I have with this film is that for the entire adventure bit that Finn and the new character Rose, who again I actually quite like, that whole bit that they went on, they were kind of delegated to the like comedic side duo for almost the entirety of the film, whereas in the first film,
real quick,
go for it.
Relegated.
Go on.
You said delegated.
What did I say?
You said delegated.
Relegate. Thank you. Yes, clarification. I do that a lot, don't I?
It's okay.
Sometimes.
Continue.
It's fine. It's fine. We're all we're all
moving on.
We're all
friends here.
Yeah, exactly. We're picking up on it. I'm just an idiot. Yeah, I think that they were kind of pigeonholed into being the kind of the comedic duo, the comedic relief, if you will. And I don't think that really did much for the film, considering that Finn was such an integral part of the first film and was kind of like, until Rey was really introduced and fleshed out, like he was one of our stand-ins. So I think that's
also the bigger problem with like them being sent onto that mission and then basically being played as like comedic relief is that as far as the audience knows, that mission that they're on is the crux of the movie.
Oh yeah. No, it's probably the most important piece, and it just turns into this weird kind of disjointed side story.
What really frustrates me about this, and it's the same thing that really frustrates me about Poe as well, is that, because I feel like they didn't do a great job with Poe either, is that we went from a movie where where Finn and Poe and Rey,
Everyone was very capable.
they were very capable. And I also, while I know that Rey is supposed to be our main character,
Yeah.
we didn't. It's the same thing as the original trilogy, where we didn't have one solid. We didn't have one main character.
No.
Where we did have somebody who was our front runner a little bit. We had two other characters
Yeah.
who were pretty integral to our story, and this is what they did in Force Awakens to completely say, "Oh, I like that we did that. That was great." Fuck that shit for this next one, and it's all Rey, and Rey is the only thing that matters. And while I love Rey and I love her character, and I think that her arc was a little less arky in this one.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they bring it back.
Well, I mean, honestly-
I think she's a great character. I just feel like they were like, oh, we can only focus on Rey, and so we have to get rid of these other two.
We'll give them nothing to do for this movie.
Or we'll give one of 180.
And the big thing for me is I don't even feel like Rey was the main character of this film, because she's not the one who got an arc. Ben was.
Yeah.
Kylo, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Rey was kind of the foil to his, like, progress and potential turnaround from dark to light. But I mean, other than basically saying fuck you to, like, Luke and kind of doing that classic thing, like in The Empire Strikes Back, where Luke in the originals was like, I have to go do this thing. I can't stay on Dagobah anymore. I have to go save my friends. I have to go help. She makes the same choice, which I think is her big arc, but really it comes down to Ben kind of doubting and then doubling down on his involvement with the dark side of the Force. Even though, again, I think as Josh said, like, he it's a little muddy as far as what he's actually doing, because he says he wants to dismantle, the dark and the light, but then kind of doubles down on being pretty much just a Darth Vader fanboy.
Yeah. Well, like, another problem is that this movie hates its tertiary characters.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And will introduce them and then immediately just kill them like they're nothing.
Yep.
Like, there's a like female resistance pilot that they focus on for a good like
Like
chunk
the
of
first
that
20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, and
Which-
then they're
which
just
is,
like,
like,
and
really-
she's dead.
But I mean,
And
that was
then,
like a very powerful piece, and I think that was, again, another bit of a carryover from Rogue One. Like, I think that sacrifice that she made, even though I think that she
doesn't make a sacrifice. She blows up in the hangar.
And then you're stuck with Poe, who acts like a dumbass the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
I guess that's true.
And then there's like, hey, here's Admiral Akbar on the bridge with Leia, also dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are you?
Why would you kill off Admiral Akbar?
And then she's asleep for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the Poe thing, I have some issues with, but at the same time, like, my issues aren't with Poe so much; it's with the way everyone around him
reacts to
Yeah.
him.
Because like the movie shows you that he's not the only one having these thoughts and these feelings.
Yeah.
And so when he acts on them, he has people backing him up.
In regards to him, like, carrying out that mutant.
The mutiny, yeah. Like, there are other people who are just like, yeah, shit's fucked, and this woman is not telling anybody anything.
Yeah.
Like, he literally goes to the bridge at one point and is pleading with her to tell them fucking anything.
The drama of this
Tell us why
film
we should follow you.
feels contrived. It all feels contrived. And again, I think besides the focus on Rey, Kylo, and Luke, like, that's really the only writing in the film that I think kind of makes sense for the overall narrative, and the rest just kind of seems like they had to make a film around that.
Yeah.
And so that's what we got.
I also agree with the fact that what you said, Harley, like they did things like Rogue One did, except for they did it completely
Yeah.
bonkers. Because, when we have Jyn saying, hey, this rebellion needs to fucking do something, and everybody was like, nah.
Yeah.
No, it made sense for her arc. She then like overcame, and even though they still disagreed, she went and did something anyways, which is all what we're having Poe do. It's literally almost the exact same thing.
Yeah.
He's saying, we need to do something. The rebellion's going, nah, brah, no, we don't. He's going, well, I'm going to fucking do something.
Yeah.
Except for this movie paints him as an asshole for doing that.
Well,
versus the other movie where it was, no, thank you, Jyn. You
Yeah.
needed to do something.
Yeah, because like once she did the thing, everybody showed up.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, we got you.
Whereas when Poe finally does the thing, everybody's like,
Yeah,
that
no, you
fucking
fucked up, bro.
You were out of line.
You were out of line. Where he's not. He's not out of line. This is
given the information that the character had, I think that he's acting he's acting reasonably. He's acting as anyone would. I mean, I didn't actually, I wasn't so hard on Poe's whole through line because I think that, I guess, like, his main arc is just having to have faith in other people and not always having to be the quote unquote flyboy.
Which is my 180.
Yeah.
Because Poe in Force Awakens has faith.
Yeah.
He has faith in other people. I'm going to give this to you, BB, because you are going to make it.
Yes.
And you are going to go. Yep. And I have faith. I'm going to just trust Finn. I literally have a stormtrooper saying, trust me right now. And I'm going to put my faith into him. And he saved me.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my faith into all of this random shit. So it's a 180 for him to no longer put faith in anybody.
Yeah. The way to fix this for the audience... Mm-hmm. Not for, like, the in-universe characters, but the way to fix this for the audience is when Holdo is talking to Leia. Between the two of them, have there be concern over a mole.
Yeah.
And that's why...
They're acting this way.
And that's, like, have that be why they think that the First Order tracked them through hyperspace.
I was going to say, because that fixed that problem, too, because that whole reveal is such a bonkers thing in a movie.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a secret in a movie that the audience has no way of being able to figure out, don't turn it into a 45-minute what's going on thing, because, like, so they have their hyperspace tracking.
Yes.
And because, like, there's like 2 or 3 scenes where General Hugs sets it up that it's which we'll get to that scene.
Admiral Hugs.
Admiral,
Thank you.
Please give the man some respect. This movie obviously doesn't.
This movie doesn't, so somebody should.
But he has 3 different lines where he's like, "Oh, they're not getting away. Like, they are tied to the end of a string." He says, and I was like, "Oh, what's going to be the big twist?" And the big twist is there's a machine that they have that can track the ships.
Yes.
And I was like, That's
cool.
I've been waiting 45 minutes to find out that there's a MacGuffin. Like,
well, and why couldn't they tell us that in the beginning? Like, I'm fine with, as an audience, us knowing that and the characters not, and having them still be like, what the fuck? How are they still finding us?
Because there's plenty of things where, as the audience, it's okay to know it, but the character's not, and then you're waiting for a character to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, not everything has to be figuring it out as the character figures it out.
Right.
Movies overdo that sometimes, and I feel like this is one of those moments where they really overstep into
especially
that.
Because he's talking to Snoke at the time, whose ship the machine that he's talking about is on.
Yeah.
So, like, does Snoke have no idea what's going? Like, yeah, you know that big giant room that we put on the ship to track ships. See, that's the secret thing I was talking about.
That's the thing. And I guess actually maybe that might be another, that might be a good time to probably switch over for at least me personally. The most surprising twist that this movie has is in its regard to how it handled Snoke. I think that this movie, like Heather said, in every single way took what J.J. Abrams set up in The Force Awakens and just said, nah. Let's.
I
What
like
if we didn't?
I like what you did there, but
It'd be a shame of somebody,
But
But here's the thing: it's unfortunate for me talking about this film because what I liked about this film the most is the fact that I never once felt like I had an idea what was going to happen. Every single piece of this movie was kind of a surprise to me, and I think that for me, watching it for the first time, like, kept a lot of the magic alive.
So what it felt like to me is the same way that Empire felt.
Yeah.
I was very lost
Yeah.
in Empire.
Yeah.
And the first viewing,
Yeah.
I remember feeling lost. Not lost, but remember going, what the hell's going to happen next?
Yeah.
What's going to happen next?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, they've got him, and then they don't, and then oh my gosh, and these people, like, you're kept on your toes, where this movie definitely does that. It keeps you on your toes 100%, Harley. You're right.
My issue is, like, so the comparisons are always going to be made between the second movie and a second movie. So with Empire,
Except for,
I mean, would you compare this film to
Attack of the
the? I was going to say, it's like,
that's a whole other thing.
they didn't talk about sand one time, and that's exactly why.
you know what though? Somebody licked
Zero
the
some
ice.
Motherfucker licks the salt.
Somebody licks the salt.
That's true. I mean, Poe obviously loves sand. So,
Yeah,
or salt,
but like, so in Empire, God,
shit.
So Empire is very much like a game of cat and mouse.
Yeah.
and you could argue that this movie is also a game of cat and mouse.
A very
if it's a very
literal-
obese cat very slowly following an out of range mouse
Yep.
as it's like hurling pebbles at it that
You
it
just
knows
got this
won't
big
kill the
old-
mouse.
Hugh
It's
Magnus
an
hunk.
obese cat.
Oh, I love that idea.
chasing a mouse that's out of range,
Just
except for the
one
cat knows that
special boy.
we're in a locked room, and I will still have
And
you.
so just walk in circles in a room as it's just like flinging carpet dust at it. Like,
I've heard this film referred to as the slowest chase scene ever.
yeah, this
entire
ain't
film.
your Fast and Furious.
No.
this is
You're gone in 60 seconds.
This isn't even your Empire Strikes Back, where the Millennium Falcon is trying to get away from the Empire. This
Yeah.
is you're just watching two stationary points on the screen in the vastness of space,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
exactly as thrilling as it sounds.
In ye old vacuum.
yeah.
But this movie does things right though too.
Yeah.
It does.
Oh, absolutely.
It does a lot of wrong.
It does some like
I want to get back to Admiral Hugs at some point too.
Yeah, we will.
Admiral Hugs.
Yeah,
Well, I
so
mean, I think that-
Admiral. So Jonathan
Yeah.
said it earlier. We were watching. We were rewatching some movies, and he said, "If this guy, because Hux in Force Awakens just yelling."
in that speech before
Oh, yeah.
they like send out the lasers.
The
Yeah.
first time they launched this weapon, and him just hit. We make fun because we're like, "Where's your fucking PA, bitch?" But he's yelling, and he's intense, and he's
Yeah.
it's so
terrifying.
effective.
It's so
Again,
effective.
like,
every single
Where
thing
was that person?
The Force Awakens set up was kind of either
they
forgotten.
turned him into a snivelly bitch.
I mean, not even that. They took all of his agency away.
Turned him into a snivelly bitch.
Yeah, I mean, they put him into a situation where he couldn't really do anything, and like I think they made him such a force in literally the Force Awakens.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was unfortunate, and that was probably my other probably. Actually, no, I have a few more, but that was a bummer. And then also Phantasma. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Phasma. Just
Phasma.
Phasma.
Nope, Phantasma.
Always Phasma.
You are
Phasma.
all wrong.
I feel like they in
Captain
in
Fantasia.
the
2000.
Yep.
in the original trilogy, we have almost a rivalry between Vader and it's gonna come to me in a minute. Tarkin. It's almost a rivalry, right? Of which one's gonna impress the Emperor more, and it's obviously gonna be Darth Vader, obviously, because
It turns into a bit of a lightsaber measuring contest.
it
yes.
does a little bit. And so I
Except
think that
Tarkin doesn't have a lightsaber, so he's
Yeah,
like,
it's a fucking
his metaphor. Your joke is broken, Harley.
but I think that they were like, oh, we can't do that. Like, I realize that The Force Awakens sets that up with Hux and Kylo Ren, but we can't do that. We can't redo that. And so instead of this dick measuring contest between these two men for Snoke's attention,
Just have a guy get yeeted into
Yeah.
various
a lot of
like
yeetage.
5 times.
Yep.
He just gets like thrown into stuff via force, and it's like
Which, like, again, it makes sense to me, at least somewhat, that you have Kylo Ren's descent into. I mean, I kind of think it's a descent into madness, and
100%,
and a descent into just completely taking on the dark side of the Force, and to have a character that you've had built up as being formidable rendered into someone who isn't anymore. I think that there is a way they could have done that and made that really powerful.
Yeah.
They just didn't. They just decided again.
they just made him a joke.
Well, yeah, they yeah, exactly. They turned a lot of our characters and a lot of the story into a joke, which is funny.
because they were trying to just focus on 3 things. And this is
Yes.
where the movie does something well.
Yeah.
They focus really, really well on the relationship between Kylo and Rey, where Reylo is awful. Fuck
Hashtag
that
Reylo.
shit.
No,
no,
please
no,
don't.
Please
no
don't.
hashtag
Please-
Reylo.
please
but
don't.
they focus really well on what Harley, you said. Ben's got an arc, and they focus really well on her being a major catalyst in that arc.
Yeah.
That's one thing they do really well. That relationship, not the romantic part of it, but them going through this arc together.
I don't know.
I think they
if-
did that really well.
I don't know if I just wasn't even. I was just so disconnected from that even being a possibility watching this, just because I wasn't 100% sure they weren't related. If we're talking about conspiracy
I mean,
theories. But
not
like-
even an issue in Star Wars, my dude.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
true. I didn't see any. I didn't pick up on any of the romantic overtones.
Oh, there was
I mean, I guess like when he walks in with his shirt off.
It's as subtle as a kyber crystal on a girl's necklace.
So not that subtle.
Yo.
Not very subtle at all.
Oh God.
Oh god. So like the scene where they're like they're not sitting in the same room, but they're like projecting to be in like the same room with each other, and they're like physically like touching through the Force connection, and then like Luke comes in, like blows up the building, and like, don't do that, don't touch your brother, don't.
I mean, that's how I saw it. That's how I was like,
I thought it was
But it's
cousin.
like,
don't touch your cousin.
Don't touch your cousin. No kissing cousins.
fair in some states.
Because at this point, you still don't know, like, maybe Rey's Luke's kid.
Well, exactly. And that's another thing, too. Again, another big surprise that, as someone who literally just was on Reddit and on all the forums, Tumblr, just going crazy about, like, all the potential things that could happen in this movie, like, having Rey's parents just be no one.
That was the second really good thing I think they did. Is I love
like
that Rey's parents are nobody.
Yep.
Not that they're nobody, they're her parents. But you know what I mean? Like, they're not a Skywalker.
Well, as
they're
we
not...
discussed in our trailer breakdown, they're nobody because she's a clone of the Emperor.
I like that, you know, she's just another really great force. And that's something that this movie does really well.
She could have been a broom kid. We don't know.
It's, again, so that's number two, is that Rey's parents are nobody. That there are other very powerful force users out there.
Yeah.
And this movie sets that up so well that we don't need Skywalkers.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need Skywalkers. We have Jedi, quote unquote. We have force users out there.
Yeah. I think that... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think it's funny that is kind of the crux of the movie, is that we don't need no Skywalker. However, this is like...
But we need a Skywalker.
The penultimate film in the Skywalker.
Yeah.
What is the Skywalker saga? Mm-hmm. And I think that's what a lot of people got really kind of ticked off. Yeah, got real miffy about. I mean, besides obviously all of the very thinly veiled, I'm just gonna call it probably like misogyny a little bit. And just,
you mean the massive amounts of
hate
incels out there?
Oh, you mean the reason that Daisy Ridley and Kelly Marie Tran are not on social media
at
anymore?
all.
Yeah, exactly.
Because fuck boys.
Yeah. I mean,
because the patriarchy out there has taught these fuckboys that they can be misogynistic and that the internet will let them be.
Well, and the whole like Mary Sue argument, it's just so silly, and it's just, I don't know.
Lots of Mary Sue arguments for our Force Awakens episode.
Oh God, yeah,
we're gonna get into that.
You mean we have already gotten into that?
Oh.
Yeah.
The third thing I think this movie does really well is Luke. I think it does Luke really well. I feel like we waited so long for Luke. We waited so long to see who Luke was going to end up being that I was not disappointed in his crabby ass old hermit man. I thought it was perfect. I thought that's exactly who he should have become.
Yeah.
I was really happy with his final scene. Harley and I both talked about this, about how we had no fucking clue that he was being projected.
Nope.
None. Not whatsoever. I didn't look for the stupid footsteps in the salt. I
was totally taken by surprise.
There, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be an epic battle. And then when he wasn't really there, I was like, this is so much cooler.
Yeah,
so much cooler.
I will agree with all of that with one small caveat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
His introductory scene should have had dialogue.
The blue boo milk?
No, just when he like grabs the lightsaber from her
and then just turns around and
throws it away.
Because it's a joke. Because they couldn't stand having like longer than like 5 minutes between like physical comedy in this film. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know if it's Rain Johnson, because I don't think he's done that really.
There was a lot of
just
jokes that this isn't
throwaway humor that I don't think
this was literally a throwaway joke.
Yes.
Yeah. But like
thanks.
If it would have worked for me.
Yeah.
If there was dialogue in that scene.
He was just like,
if he was like, why are you giving me this? Like, who are you? Why are you giving me this? And just like throws it.
Even if you're going to still play into the joke, I don't want this. And then tosses it away.
I mean,
just anything besides just like epic stares and then him just like chucking it over his shoulder and then walking away.
Another angle of it too could have been, if they're going to have the joke, actually have it make sense narratively, in which she's like, what did you do? Well, I'm here to do this and that, and just have Luke cut her Rey off and be like, I know why you're here. I'm a Force user. I've been watching you. I know why you're here.
The issue is he at the beginning of this movie has cut himself off from the Force.
That's true. Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
Which
he's
is something
not
that I
in
feel
communion
like-
with that.
Wait,
at all
yeah.
in the Force.
Yeah.
Which is something that I feel like The Force Awakens does not set up,
No.
because when she finds him at the top of the mountain, so I had
He gives her a knowing glance.
yeah, and I had this theory that like when she finds him, he's standing next to this like little stone that seems like it's placed in the ground and
Yeah.
not like just there because of geological movement.
Yeah.
And so it was like, oh, okay, he knows Han died, and he has placed this little thing at the top of this mountain. And then it turns out 40 minutes into
Total-
The Last Jedi, he's like, wait a minute,
Yeah,
Chewie, why are you here?
Total
Where's
surprise,
Han?
and then literally no like exploration of how that would affect him.
So here's where I did know you felt this way, by the way. Did not know you felt that way, because what I took away from his looking at her is I knew somebody would come for me.
yeah,
I 100%, not that I knew it would be you, not that I know you're a powerful Force user. I knew somebody would come for me.
Yeah.
And so when you find out that he turned himself away from the Force, I went, that makes so much sense. No, it made a lot of sense to me. Like he does, Luke in originally, my biggest, before we started 7, 8, and now 9, was that Luke was going to be the balance.
yeah.
Luke was going to be light and dark at the
yeah.
same time and hold the balance. And then when they started 7 and you find out that Kylo, he was trying to train a new Jedi Order, which does not create balance. It 100% does the opposite. I was like, oh, well, this makes sense. So now he's not only tried to be he's seen what his dad, what, his father did. He's seen what he's done. He saw what Obi-Wan's done. And he's kind of like, fuck this. Every time one of us becomes strong in this Force, it becomes bad. Something bad happens. So I'm going to just say no.
There is no natural equilibrium to the Force.
No,
it's
it's-
gonna be.
It's a pendulum,
conflict.
and it's constantly swinging one way.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be a part of this anymore. I don't want to lose people I love. I don't want to be the cause of their death. I don't want this anymore at all.
I think that, I mean, if any piece of the criticism of this movie, I think I seems the most like well thought out, and I think I can kind of understand the most, is the people's feelings towards the depiction of Luke as someone who is just given up completely, and how that matches up with the original and what that means for him as a character.
He's also how many years older now?
Yeah.
It's been what, 30 years?
Something like that.
30
yeah.
years since the end of 6. That man went through a fuck ton, and there was a lot we don't know about what he went through. It could make
Because
a
you
ton
gotta
of sense.
leave some material for the books.
You got to read the books.
I don't think any of this is going to be in books. 'cause
Yeah. I
don't
nobody
think so.
cares.
It makes sense for him to have given up at this point. There's
Totally.
30 years of something, and he watched all of his Padawans die.
Yep.
Every single one of them, except for one, because that one killed them all.
I'm sorry, do you mean his younglings?
Killing younglings.
Yeah.
So
Just throwing them back.
I feel like it makes, character-wise, it
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
I'm in total agreement, actually, and I liked how again
okay, Fred.
Agreement?
Agreements.
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 No.
Agreements.
No.
Are you getting some grants? Some agreements.
Man, I do that a lot. We're just gonna call it out every time. That's
Yep.
cool.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's what we're here
Welcome
for.
to it, Canada.
Hey,
Welcome to
that's-
the moist grammar Nazis.
That's fine. Oh hell no.
Oh, I'll know.
Johnny, Jesus.
No, that's what you just said. Buddy. Oh, it is.
That was the joke I was making, you monster. Whatever. Yeah, fuck all y'all, and this movie's awesome. No, but I mean, I think it makes sense that this character, would become the jaded shadow of a man that he has become. And I think Luke and Kylo are the two that probably have the most significant arc in this film, and
Yeah.
it's Luke.
I mean, Rey's training is pretty significant in this movie.
Yeah. So that's what I think that my main thing is that I think the things they did right were those 3 characters.
Yeah.
I think every other character they did dirty. And I know for a fact that there's no way they knew this was going to be Leia's last movie.
No.
But I'm heartbroken that they had her and did nothing with her. And I know
Yeah.
it's because, and everybody's come out and said that 9 was going to be Leia's movie.
Yeah.
It was going to be Leia's movie, and she was going to be in it a lot, and she was going to drive the plot. And this was Luke's last big film, and
Yeah.
this one, and 9 was supposed to be Leia's last big film, and they were saving her for that. But it's just, heartbreaking
Yeah.
because we don't have her, and it's like the last real film she got to act in is
One where she spent a lot of the time in a
in
bed.
a coma.
In a coma.
In a
In a
coma.
coma.
You know, we got to see her use the Force a lot, which was the most we've seen her Force use, which was kind of cool.
Here's the thing, and I think you and I have had this conversation. You and I, Heather, have had this conversation before, and I know that this is probably going to set one of us off a little bit here. I actually really enjoyed the scene in which Leia uses the Force, and I know it's kind of Mary Poppins-esque, where she just kind of
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Yeah, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. Yeah,
No, I enjoyed that.
It's been done better.
I liked it. I
enjoyed
did
it.
too.
No, I
just,
got super fucking weepy because I was like, oh my god, like, because I've been waiting for that for so long, because I know that they've been teasing, obviously, in all the like the extended universe stuff, that Leia was Force sensitive at the very least.
She's very strong with the Force as well. She just
And-
uses it in a different way.
Well, I
She
think that's
doesn't-
what, like-
Jedi. She's a strategist. She's a general.
She's
she uses
not-
it for a different way.
Yeah.
She doesn't use it.
I think
like a
that's
Jedi.
what like these new movies are trying like with okay maybe not so I feel like that's what 7 was trying to like
Yeah.
do
when-
was
when-
show different like variations on Force users
For sure.
and that
Yeah.
Leia was like a Force empath
Yes.
and then
Because
this
she's
movie
very
was like
much in tune with other people's feelings, and she's
Like,
in tune with
she-
what's happening.
regardless of where they are she can feel other people.
Yeah. Which I mean, yes, good job. Which I mean, which Luke
Fuck, it took
and
me a second.
which Luke and Kylo and Rey also show.
Yeah.
And so it's like, see, she's been a Force user, and I feel like in the original trilogy they do that slightly, but
They do it real. They
Empire Strikes Back,
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi is when she really taps into it.
Yes,
Because like the conversation with her and Luke, on the like the bridges on
Yeah.
Endor.
he doesn't have to tell her almost anything. She just knows.
Kind of just like starts to intuit stuff and like
They show it,
and more than just like you're not telling me the whole story. Tell me everything. She's just like
I know.
once he's like, you're my sister. I just found out you're my sister, and she's kind of just like, yeah, that was the thing, huh? That was
Yep.
the thing that was always between us.
That's what's between
Like-
us. That's why I felt like that's why I knew what was going on with Vader, because she's very in tune with Vader, and they do it very subtly,
Mm-hmm.
where she is very well aware of where that man is.
Yeah.
It's the same way he's aware of when Luke is near him, and he's aware of when Leia's near him.
Yeah, it's just like Luke and Vader are more of like actively scanning for that, and Leia is more of just like letting it kind of
come to her when it
wash
does.
onto her. Like,
And then
as it-
and we've seen her, and she's probably had practice over it, because we see her do that a lot at the end of 6.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time we hit 7, it's been 30 years. She's had time
Yeah.
to figure that out and to get in tune with that. And she knows like in the end of this movie, when Han dies, her and
he died in 7.
he died in 7. Sorry, David, that's the movie I watched today. When he dies at the end of 7, her and Rey feel it immediately.
Well, Rey is also there watching it happen.
God damn it! What am I talking about?
Instant
Sorry.
feedback.
When Luke dies, when Luke dies at
Leia
the end of 8,
and Rey feel it.
Feel it and share a look, and they immediately both know.
Yeah.
And so it just. I really like that they took that side of her character. I'm really sad that she spent most of the movie in a coma, because we no longer have Carrie Fisher, and I love my space mom, and I love my princess, and I love my general, and I want her in so many more things. And 9 is gonna make me bawl. I'm tearing up right now. 9 is gonna make me bawl like a big freaking baby, and I'm really sad that I'm gonna be in a movie theater where I can't hit pause, so I can just have a breakdown for 10 minutes and then hit play and start watching the rest of the movie.
Projector man, give me a minute.
I hope they give that an option. I hope that's an option where I think we can all just be like, 10-minute recess, please.
I mean, I feel like
Intermission.
whatever they
Yeah.
decide to do with that scene, and scenes maybe like when they decide to address that, like that'll be the entire theater, and I mean, it goes to show that she just was so important to these films, and such a force, if I may use the term.
No.
God damn it.
It wasn't
It's against the rule.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, no, we love her and we miss her.
Yeah. So turning from that to somebody that I think we can all agree, both movies introduce and then immediately are just like, yeah, but fuck that character.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier Phasma.
Phantasma, yeah.
Like both movies
Yeah.
don't give a shit about that character.
No, I mean
Yeah,
they
she's like
turned
bonked on the
her
head.
into like Boba Fett, basically.
Basically.
Yeah.
Which is like, again, if they were doing it kind of knowingly, or if they had introduced her as maybe like the comedic relief to like whoever.
You know, I would have been okay with
I
that
would
being
have
a
been okay with it.
comedic
Yeah,
relief
have
if
her
that
be,
had been
have
what they
her
were going to
be
do.
the bumbling kind of snivelly character. Although it would have been badass because like I was stoked about her like showing up and being like super
Here's my
authoritative.
thing:
and
you're gonna.
scary.
We've
Yeah.
talked about this on this podcast before. If you're gonna have an actor and you're
Yes.
not, it's not gonna just be a cameo. You're gonna give them a character. Fucking sometimes do something with them. And
Yes.
Gwendolyn Christie is one of those fucking people.
I was
you
so
have
excited.
Gwendolyn Christie.
Yeah.
Fucking do something
I
with her.
know.
Do something. This woman is fantastic.
Yeah.
She's fantastic.
And I mean, it's not.
Got him.
Got him. And it's
She's a great actress, and it's like to not do anything.
that being said, though, it's not really like they didn't do the same thing in The Force Awakens because I mean, they eat her into the trash compactor.
Yeah, I know.
And I think it's a more elegantly handled and a far more humorous scene than pretty much anything in this film. Like I think that actually is a good payoff and a little bit of fan service. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that kind of summarizes all of my feels on this movie. Is that it seems that all the drama is somewhat contrived to give us these big set pieces that don't really make sense narratively, and a lot of the choices that they made were either specifically in the pursuit of providing fan service or for some strange reason just completely nixing all of the narrative legwork that The Force Awakens did to set up some very interesting conversations and mysteries as far as all these characters.
Which brings me to a huge point of when you have trilogies like this, when you
Yeah.
have big box offices like this,
Yeah.
please don't change directors. Please don't change screenwriters. You have somebody telling you a story. You have somebody building this for you.
Yeah.
Don't just change that up in the middle. Either commit to what you're committing to or don't fucking do it. Because having a switch caused massive ripples in a story.
Yeah.
And there's also just like tonal differences in their directing.
Oh yeah, for
Like
sure.
I can watch J.J. Abrams like directed things like all day long
Yeah.
because I love his shot compositions are great.
He's the king of like the big blockbuster popcorn film. Like
Yeah.
anything he films is just automatically epic.
because he went to the school of Spielberg.
Yeah.
And like is carrying that torch
Hard.
so hard.
Yeah.
Where I feel like Ryan Johnson makes decisions sometimes where it's just like the scene of Rey when she's like training with her staff and then switches to the lightsaber. There are some just like really weird shots in that that just don't make any sense.
And then the cutaway to the fish nuns getting their cart destroyed. Another throwaway
and
joke.
it's just like
for no
another
reason.
throwaway joke all of a
Okay,
sudden.
actually though, I stand those fish nuns hard. I love them.
But like the different like camera angles that it just like flashes
Yeah.
to all of a sudden of like the shot of like adjacent to the rock that she's like controlling herself to not hit. Like I love all of those shots. Those are all great. But when it like goes like low angle up at the sun from where she's standing and it's like right behind her and she's
Just,
like
stutter
swinging the
frame
light
too a little bit.
yeah, and it, like the take that they use in a lot of like those weird shots like that just look really sloppy, and it just does. It's just like no, that ain't it, Chief. Like,
It should have, this should have been a massive box office-y montage. This is our new Jedi. Like this is new Luke for us. Like it should have been great.
Yeah.
He had some great shots. I'll give him that. You're right. And at the end when Luke's dying and he's sitting on the rock and it's the two suns and it's
oh, that's amazing,
majestic
Like,
and beautiful
fuck.
and wonderful. But it's just like, why wasn't the whole movie like that?
Yeah, I think that just as far as his handling of a lot of the action scenes, it does just feel a little disjointed, and
It makes me sad. It makes me wanted to see what JJ would have done with that. You know what I mean? Like,
Although that being said, I am now excited that we're getting another JJ instead of a Colin Trevorrow.
Oh God!
Thank God! Yeah,
Thank fucking God.
yeah.
Because I don't need a Jurassic World Star Wars.
No, thank you.
no, thank you. And that's really what I'm trying to say is like, if you're gonna commit, commit to a director.
Yeah.
Don't switch it up every movie. And
I mean, to be fair, on paper and using like all of the bunnies, the original trilogy had 3 different directors.
it
Exactly.
did, but that's
Well, with like
that had a
George
very
Lucas
commanding
kind of
producer
controlling the shit.
Yeah, it had a commanding producer. Do we have a commanding producer on this one?
We have JJ.
It should.
We have JJ Abrams and we have an outline. That's what everybody was given. The only problem is the A to B wasn't written out.
No.
The like A to Z was written out. Every
But not
other
the middle
like
bits.
step along the way was
Yeah.
just like, do whatever the fuck you want.
Which doesn't work.
No.
Which doesn't work, and we all know this.
We all know that works because, I mean, everybody at this point has seen season 8 of Game of Thrones, and everybody knows how they feel about that. And while I liked the last season, there are definitely issues with it.
Still haven't watched it, but yeah, I've heard things.
Yeah, but like, so, I mean, I feel like that's kind of a one-to-one comparison of like just watching an outline as opposed to watching somebody who's written something out and is like telling the complete story.
Yeah, because my biggest issue with switching directors is that you have somebody who doesn't care about the next one. Whereas if you have somebody who directs all 3, they care about the entire storyline.
Yeah.
Versus this is my movie and they can figure it out in the next one.
I mean, if a director is coming at a film with the right mindset and with being told that like, hey, listen, you need to make sure that you're setting up a specific set of plot points, that shouldn't be an issue. But for some reason,
but you read comics, Harley.
Yeah.
You know that when they switch from one writer to another, it drastically shifts the tone of the comic. That's what directors do. They can drastically shift tones. While the writing might not have been his, while the writing might not have been his, or the plot might not have been his, that tone of that movie is set a lot by how he directs it.
But that's the problem. I don't think this movie has a tonal problem. I think that he did make a lot of changes that feel a little bit jarring. I don't necessarily think they were bad or distracting or necessarily like took me out of the film. I think what did take me out of the film was the fact that he basically took all of he took that trail of breadcrumbs that JJ had established in the first film, The Force Awakens, and just basically he just kind of
buried it in the trail of
He was
all
like,
of
you know what, I
JJ's
don't like
toys
this
and
one.
threw them away.
Exactly. I was like, just to be completely transparent, I was really excited to have, is it Ryan or Ryan? I've heard of Birthways.
Ryan.
It's Ryan.
Birthways. Fuck me.
Birthways.
Thanks, Canada.
Yeah. I was really excited to have Ryan Johnson on this film. Like that was a big draw for me because I love his work. Looper, right? Looper was a great fucking film. I'm sure there's other stuff that he's done that I've seen that I can't just literally not
pull
remember
from memory right now.
Yeah, but I mean, like I was excited to see his take, and I think that while he did fall into a lot of very easy kind of traps of physical comedy, of just kind of shoehorning a lot of those comedic elements, like I like the fact that he tried to introduce kind of some new things to the Star Wars trilogy. I think the big issue is that maybe he just didn't respect not like the source material, but like what had been done already to set up that third and final act. Because again, I think my biggest concerns going now into...
By the way, the answer is no, you have seen nothing else.
Yeah.
Oh, Harley might have. He watches some weird shit.
I do. No, I mean, I follow. Like, Looper was not my first Ryan Johnson film that I had seen.
Was Brick your first
Yeah,
one?
which is amazing. Like, if you everyone should just stop this. I mean, donate, subscribe, give us
go watch
your
Brick.
love and money, but then go watch Brick because it's.
I'm not gonna lie, Star Wars was his 4th film directing ever.
But I mean, he has always been he's been an auteur and he was a prodigy. Like, Brick is an amazing film with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It's this crazy.
Because he did Brick,
Lucas
the
Haas.
Brothers Bloom.
Yeah. Right.
Which brother? The Brothers Bloom is
Brothers
the one.
Bloom is one that JP was talking about.
Exactly.
Looper and then Star Wars, and so it's like, you've done 4 films in 12 years.
I think that the issue with this film was that maybe he just didn't have that kind of...
There might have been
Oh, by
some
the way,
like
he also wrote this movie.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
there
yeah,
might have
yeah.
been like a slight amount of MCUification of what he was allowed to do.
That's true. Yeah. I can
So
feel
like
that.
I don't necessarily know. I mean, saying that he was a writer on who else was a writer on this movie though? Because
Nobody.
Like,
Yeah,
nobody.
it was all him.
Nobody.
Oh well, fuck my point then.
But the issue is that I feel like all of
So
the
he
problems
took
I have
all
with
of
this film,
JJ's toys and threw them out the window.
Yeah.
the problem that I have with a lot of the things that he did with this film is that it feels like someone being, and I totally agree with you, Johnny. It feels like somebody being told, write a funny into a film who doesn't really know how to write a funny. None of his
Yeah.
films have been even slightly comedic.
No.
They're very, they're dark. They are like rough, and they always have like a very kind of. You never walk. I've never walked away from one of his films feeling like super upbeat
Yeah.
and stoked, which is like kind
Which
of.
I feel like is why a lot of the humor in this movie is just based around people being assholes to each other.
Totally. Yeah. So I don't put a lot of the blame on Ryan. I feel like a lot of it was because whoever was calling the end shots of this film like was directing him but not in the right way.
Yeah.
They were adding, they weren't working with what material. Because again, I think if he had just been like, show us the fucking Snyder cut, you know? if he had been able to make the Star Wars film that he really would have and wanted to make, again, who knows? That
Maybe this is that one.
Maybe that's just
'cause
speculation.
this might be that one because again, he's the only writer.
Yeah.
He was the director, and Disney. If you've proven to be able to make money, they usually leave you pretty much alone.
Yeah, I feel like the MCU thing is more of like a Feige. Like Feige will step in and just be like, "Hey, if you're gonna do this, make sure you're including this shit."
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is
do
what
it.
he's
If you're
doing in
gonna do
Star
it,
Wars now.
Do it right.
Yeah, which is funny. But
What's like? So I don't necessarily know that like Kathleen Kennedy has that same sort of like
I don't think
imprint
she's
on the
like
Star Wars
in
movies.
it as much.
I think if she doesn't like it, you get fired. Otherwise, you
Yeah, that's what happens. Is you just get straight
You just
shit
have to
canned.
make her happy.
well, and in that case, yeah, then maybe he had assumed that he needed to include some of those elements. But again, it just a lot of the things that I didn't like about this film didn't feel really attributable to anything that he's written before or his style.
Yeah, and here's
Yeah.
the reason why
Maybe
that
that's
might feel that way too.
Yeah.
Is that you just said they're not really funny. There were jokes in Seven. There are funny little things, but they're
There's
not
a bunch
like
of funny stuff.
Oh, yeah,
There's
yeah.
a bunch
but
of funny,
it's-
but
But
they're
that's Abrams
subtle.
humor.
Yeah,
It's-
and they're
it's-
situational funny.
Yes.
And I feel like he was like, oh, I have to put jokes in this, but
Yeah.
I'm not good at making jokes. And
Exactly.
so he just wrote jokes. But nobody probably told him to write jokes.
No.
It's just that he goes, oh, there's situational. Because in the original trilogy, there's situational
Yeah.
funny things that
Yeah.
happen. I just don't think he does situational funny.
No.
And so he was like, well, I got to put funny in this somehow. And so he wrote,
I love that definitive no.
he doesn't. And I've seen Looper, and I
Yeah.
love Looper.
Yeah.
And he does have some humor in Looper, but it's not the same. It's
No.
not the lighthearted. It is people being
it's
assholes.
Fucking it's fucking turn your boomstick on yourself and just end that shit.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's it's
What are you talking about? Big titty opera alien is hilarious.
God.
so I think that
I had forgotten about that until today,
It
honestly.
was him. I think it was him trying to do something that he's not good at.
Yeah.
Because he maybe felt pressured from watching other films, but I don't think anyone told him to do this.
Maybe not. I don't know. Again, that's all speculation on my part. But
So, which is why, a quick tangent.
God, welcome back, Josh.
Seriously, I'm so
Hey.
sorry. You have had no
Yeah.
time this whole podcast.
Well, I didn't want to hear your opinion.
Yeah, I was like,
Well,
wait.
you guys are like, oh, Josh, you could be real asshole about it. And you guys are like
And
going
then we're the
harder
ones
than I was
shitting on
going to.
we're going hard.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, because for me, I really liked this movie. I really enjoyed seeing it. I walked out being like, that was a decent film. I'm glad that we went and saw that. I went and saw it with Kari and a bunch of our mutual friends, and it was just an instant rage fest the second we walked out of the theater. And I was like, oh, like
A lot of people did that, but I
Yeah.
didn't. I'm with you, Harley. I didn't. I walked out happy.
I walked out, obviously, of watching.
I think we both did,
Yeah,
Jonathan. I think we-
definitely did. Like, there were definitely moments where, because we usually have a tendency, because we have a kid,
Yeah.
we usually have a tendency to wait a little bit longer than we maybe should to go see movies. And so I had heard opinions about this movie.
Yeah.
It's not that we should longer than we should. It's we just can't.
We just can't. It's
for sure.
basic. But like, so I had heard opinions about this movie. So when I was sitting in the movie, there were definitely things where I couldn't just sit there and watch it. I definitely was sitting there just being like, oh, I get why somebody wouldn't like
Jonathan's
this.
terrible at avoiding social media when we need to not
not even
get
social
shit
media.
ruined for us.
People in person opinions of stuff.
When we have to wait, like we had to wait to see Endgame.
We waited a month.
We waited
That's
a
right.
month
Yeah.
for Endgame,
That
and
was stressing me out.
I was on
Yeah.
social media. I wasn't on the gram. I wasn't on Facebook. And I told people when they were talking to me, I said, if you tell me anything, I will end our friendship.
Yeah.
Like, unsubscribed, canceled, never talk to you again. I will end our friendship right here.
Whereas I had 90% of that movie spoiled for me.
I also told him that I would end our friendship if he spoiled it for me.
She's like ring in the fingers, slowly coming off, and she's like,
Not tell me
motherfucker, don't say a
anything.
goddamn thing.
Don't you ruin my 15 years of build up for this shit.
Try me. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I was lucky that Kari and I and our friends, we went and saw it, like, not opening night, but I think the day afterwards. So I didn't really, I went into this completely blind, not knowing what to expect other than the trailers. I am terrible at ruining movies for myself, though, for that exact reason. Like, I'll look at the Wikipedia plot. I don't care. Like, I ruined Iron Man 3. Like, I knew who the Mandarin was going into that, and that was a bummer. But, yeah, I guess I don't know. I feel like I almost... Yeah, I don't know.
I have a hard time dealing with people's rage in this movie because I'm an easy mark. I am happily entertained. I liked Transformer 2 when I walked out of the theater. I'm terrible. I am exactly who they make movies for.
I'm not
because
that bad.
You distract me for 2 hours and I'm happy.
Yeah.
And I walked out feeling really happy, and I still have a really hard time going back and rewatching it. And I know I've said that it's got issues.
Yeah.
But none of those issues make this a bad movie for me. It's not a bad movie. It's not even a bad Star Wars movie because I've lived through those. They're called the prequels.
Yeah.
I've lived through bad Star Wars and still left theaters entertained.
Yeah.
I like this movie. I don't understand why you have issues with an Asian woman being a character, why you have issues with a female character being a main character.
Those aren't issues like that.
No, those are personal
That
issues.
shouldn't even be like on the same playing field as like debating or talking about the show. Like
we've been talking about plot points. Not at once am I like, I really wish this actor hadn't portrayed that character.
Those are not valid opinions. Those are not valid arguments as to whether or not this is a good film.
I struggle with people who are like, this wasn't good, and I'm like,
well, and it's not even this isn't good. People literally, I mean, to this day, like if you see anything Star Wars related, you will see at least one comment, be it on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, someone saying that I will not ever see a new Star Wars film again because The Last Jedi ruined the entire series.
Not even Star Wars. Literally any movie. Yeah. Anytime anybody is shitting on a movie, there's that one person. Yeah. It's not as bad as The Last Jedi.
Exactly.
There's always that person. We're 2 years past this shit.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't understand.
And here's the thing.
Hell.
You fuckers lived through episode 2. Yeah. You watched Attack of the Clones, and you're telling me that Last Jedi is your end-all be-all?
Yeah, because they could pause that Coliseum scene and just quickly rub one out to Natalie Portman getting her shirt torn off.
Yeah.
You can't do that in these movies.
Yeah, because I mean, at least they still had. I was
gonna say they're just not trying.
At least the prequels still had lead male characters, right? Who were in their own rights, kind of Mary Sue's, but
they were Mary Sue.
Like, if we're going to talk about Mary Sue's, just fucking getting superpowers.
Yeah.
Because you can control the Force.
Yeah.
Like, that's the most Mary Sue thing.
Exactly.
Like,
so
it's built in to the narrative.
Like, 7 and 8, nobody has fucking superpowers.
No.
I mean, you want to tell me Kylo Ren doesn't have superpowers?
He's not leaping off of buildings and fucking surviving.
Although he is
reading people's mind.
He caught the beam. He caught the blaster beam.
Yeah, that was badass.
That was real cool. See more of that.
That was really cool.
See more of that.
Give me more of that.
Yeah.
Because Ryan Johnson hates J.J. Abrams.
Oh, yeah. So that's the thing. Is like, do these two just hate each other, and that's why Ryan Johnson like took his toy box and just like put it in a shredder?
I don't think he
put it in a shredder. He just locked it in a closet and ate the key and was like, "I'll shit this sucker out in 2 years, bitch, and then you can have him back."
Fucking climb for it.
I just think that they were two very different directors, two very different writers with two very different visions of where these films should have gone. I think that unfortunately Ryan Johnson's vision was a little bit myopic and didn't consider like the narrative through lines, but I don't think they're bad films.
No, it's still. Here's the thing: at the end of the day, this is still a Star Wars film, and it feels like a Star Wars.
Oh God,
film.
there's spectacle.
At no point did I feel like I wasn't watching a Star Wars movie.
Can we just talk about real quick about just the fucking that scene that like made so many people in theaters be like, what the fuck is the volume cutting out? Like so
good. So I was really up. So
We waited so long to see this movie that there was a disclaimer.
Yes.
At the beginning of the film that said, "There's nothing wrong.
Same.
There will be a pause."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What the hell are they talking about?" And this guy over here is like, "Oh, I know what they're talking about."
They
I was like,
had
"Cool."
that the second day. They had that when we went to go see it.
Yeah.
So there was
Yeah.
obviously so much like, I don't know.
It's so
It's such a
great.
perfect
so
scene.
good.
Yeah.
It's
so
like-
fucking amazing.
it's chill inducing just to have just nothing.
Nope.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's the only thing Laura Dern does in this movie
Yes.
that is worth watching.
Absolutely, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
You had my Laura Dern.
Seriously.
Bitches
They had our
Ryan
Laura
Johnson,
Dern.
that's why you're a bitch.
They
right
had
now.
our
You had my Laura
Benicio del
Dern.
Toro. They did nothing with him. We haven't even
He
brought. We
had
haven't
a speech impediment.
That is true. We'll give
So
him
there's-
something.
We'll give him that.
Gave him that, I
They
guess.
gave him a
I just-
speech impediment.
Which didn't
They
even,
just did
which
nothing.
didn't
Which
even
was a
make
joke.
sense and was kind of which was kind of
Again
offensive.
with the jokes.
A kind
I
of
just
a-
I
an
feel
offensive
I'm
speech
like
impediment.
I feel like I haven't watched this on DVD. Like maybe there's deleted scenes that like help this along. Maybe there is a deleted scene where they're talking about there being a possible mole, and that is why these decisions are. I know you're laughing at me right now because there's not. I'm sure of it. But like,
Brian Johnson's just a hack.
Yeah. Wow, there it is.
you know what I mean? Like
Coming in
they
hard.
just
Yeah.
there were and. Here's the thing about this movie is that we've been bitching about for how long
Here's
now.
the thing.
Here's the
Is-
thing.
Is that these are small things. These are not. They're pretty small things. They're not.
In the grand scheme,
In the
yeah.
grand scheme of this movie, they are not end all be all, and that's where I think that's what makes me so mad at when I talk to people about this movie is that it's their end all be all, and I think they're fucking crazy because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I watched a Star Wars movie where I got to see somebody use the Force. I got to see a lot of people use the Force actually in this one. It wasn't just one person. I got to see like 4 people use the Force, which is amazing. And you get to see Luke's just fucking OG moment.
Oh God, yeah.
God, that was just
Well, and that's the funny thing because I feel like that's,
power levels are over 9,000.
Yes, that, everyone
was so
wanted
great.
that scene. Everyone wanted Luke. I mean, I say everyone. I say everyone as in everyone who I've seen talking about this film and complaining about the depiction of Luke. Everyone wanted Luke to be this OP character who just walked in, kicked all sorts of ass, and we got that.
And we did.
It
And
wasn't
did he
necessarily
was he physically there?
Yeah,
No, but he
No.
didn't.
It was a bit
That
of
was the issue,
it
is
was a
that
bit
he
of a-
did it in a pacifistic way.
But here's the thing, it made it so much cooler. And if
sure.
you don't think that was way fucking cooler, then what the fuck are you doing with your life? Because this man just force projected himself so far across this universe to look so physically real that he handed this kid something.
Yeah.
He literally handed him something. And you're telling me that that's not fucking coolish goddamn shit?
No, he needed to make the sacrifice play in person, otherwise
Yeah.
it doesn't count.
Well, I think just people wanted to see Luke in his prime being like
I really hope that you're just playing fucking devil's
Being
advocate
Neo.
right now, or you're sleeping on the goddamn couch.
Oh no, I'm just saying I am playing the
those are
role of the
those
troll.
Are the arguments.
That is the troll. I know,
Those
but
are the
that's what I'm
arguments.
saying. Like, I just don't.
I just don't think it should matter. I mean, like
I don't get the
we got to
mindset.
see visually. We got to see him finally make a stand. He came back. We had the actual like narrative setup that he has been completely without the Force. He's been completely detached from the rest of the world. He comes back. He makes amends in a sense with Leia, and then he shows Kylo Ren what's up.
Okay, and I'm gonna say it right now,
Check all
and
the
this is
boxes.
gonna. I hope we don't lose listeners about this. But if you don't think that Luke doing this was super beyond cool. You're not a real Star Wars fan. This is no. Go back and rewatch this original trilogy and tell me this isn't exactly what Luke would have done. He has been a pacifist since the get-go. From the get-go, he did not run into fights to be the first one to smack somebody down. He wanted to solve these problems without smacking people down. Go back and rewatch 5 and tell me that his plan to get Han away from Jabba wasn't him going in guns blazing.
That's 6.
6, sorry, 6, whatever.
5, he is very much just like, he comes at Vader swinging.
He does,
But by
he
6
also,
is when he's like, yeah, that doesn't work.
that doesn't work. Rewatch these films and tell me that 30 years later, this isn't who fucking Luke would be. Because if you're gonna fight me on this and tell me that it is that Luke should have come in swinging, you didn't fucking watch these movies.
Yeah.
You didn't. You didn't pay attention. You didn't watch these movies. You don't care. You just want to see a male character come out saving some poor ass woman. And that is not Star Wars. And that is not what the themes of these movies are.
So how about the score? It was good.
The score's pretty good. You got
Right?
John Williams in there.
Perfect.
It was great.
Playing the fucking hits, sometimes in unnecessary parts.
A little bit,
What
yeah.
was the scene where I think? Oh, it's the.
I totally agree.
I know,
with
it's okay.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I got my rant done. I'm
Yeah.
It's
it's fine.
But
the scene
in-
where BB-8 is
getting shooting the coins at the guards,
Yeah,
and
and
like
they
we
play
get the
get
full
fanfare.
theme.
It's like that's not the fanfare
no.
moment.
No.
No.
I mean, was there really a fanfare moment?
No.
I guess maybe at the end when Rey's like finally
Moving the CG rocks out of the way.
That
was so cool.
Yeah, it was fucking cool. That's right.
I have said it before. I think I said it in Rogue One, where film scores have to either be really, really great
Yeah.
or really, really bad for me to notice them.
For sure.
I have never watched original anthology Star Wars movie and not noticed a score.
Oh, yeah.
Anthologies of the outset movies. Anthology
yeah,
means
See,
detached.
Heather, it hurts, doesn't it?
So with it's the same with the original trilogy where I noticed the music.
Yeah.
Because it's so great. In 7 and 8, and especially in 8, I noticed this music.
Yeah.
I feel my goosebumps. I love every minute of it.
I think that the music and the timing of when it was used and utilized in The Force Awakens, to me, was perfect. And again, I think that's because JJ has that Spielbergian eye and knows when to highlight his spectacle.
Yes.
I think that it felt a little bit misplaced in this film just because, again, you have Rian Johnson who just doesn't
I will
have
give him
history.
props, though. That last scene with Luke, where
Yeah.
Luke is looking, that majestic scene, that music is spot fucking on.
That does write itself, though, because
It
that
should
is...
have.
that
It
is-
really should.
that
It should
is-
have, but with the way he directed the rest of this movie,
that we may not have gotten that, but I mean, you have to have Luke, if he's going out, you have to have him looking out into those, two sunsets
in those dual suns with that.
with his theme,
With
With
that
his
theme.
theme.
Luke's
Yeah.
theme.
It was so gorgeous. So
Yeah.
I mean, I love Star Wars music, and I always
Yeah.
will. Do I sit and listen to the scores in my car on my way to places? No, because who
Yeah,
does that,
'cause
Harley?
That would be crazy.
That'd be crazy.
I only listen to the Star Wars soundtrack during coitus. So
There you go. So let's segue from let's segue out of that into something that I think is almost universally just like a fucking why.
Canto Bite?
Just a half hour of Canto Bite.
motherfucking Cantabile.
This is the funny thing is I can't remember which episode it was, but one of us who's named Jonathan defended the Canto Bite stuff. It wasn't that bad. It was only like 5 minutes.
No, it's
And
like
then he rewatched
and then I
the movie.
rewatched it today and was
no,
like,
it's too
God.
long. It's way too long.
It's too long. Justin Theroux should not have been the cameo.
I'm not gonna lie. So I did not rewatch this movie with you today.
Yeah.
I don't remember this scene.
That's for the best.
And-
I know.
Well,
So
it's
that's
very forgettable.
That's how I was gonna say. That's my commentary on it. It's
Does
like,
Justin
I
Theroux even really count as a cameo?
I mean, he's on screen and he has at
One
least
line.
one line of dialogue.
But I mean, like,
cameo.
That's a cameo.
Isn't it supposed to be like a celebrity cameo?
Wait. Give me a second.
Please don't. Please
I can do it
don't.
for you.
Please don't tweet Justin Theroux. I actually.
I gotta tweet Justin Theroux real quick.
I mean, I just
Oh,
didn't.
no.
I didn't know who the fuck that was at all.
No, put your phone down.
Yikes.
Put your fucking
no,
phone
we're gonna.
down.
It's gonna.
Yeah. there it is. Justin Theroux, if you're listening to this, which I'm sure you definitely are.
Yeah.
Most definitely. I mean, what the fuck else is he doing with this?
That's not a slight. You're wonderful.
Oof.
Yeah.
So
It wasn't who I was expecting. It wasn't the kind of cameo I was expecting. If you're going to have a cameo, you should have had Benicio del Toro because he literally did nothing in the film.
Yeah.
And then have Justin Theroux be the
code breaker.
I
Yeah.
would have loved that.
Yeah,
That would have
absolutely.
been great, actually.
Yeah.
Switch those two. That's fantastic.
I mean, they were because like Benicio's he's a legend, man. Like he's fucking he didn't got shit.
He's such a legend. In fact, you've added a fucking R to his name where it doesn't belong.
What are you talking about, Bernie? Me and Bernie go way back. You don't fucking know me and Bernie del Toro.
Okay, so here are my issues. So watching it again today, and like in general, I watch things pretty objectively, and
he does. It's awful.
it's probably
so you
terrible.
know.
Yeah, Heather can attest. It's pretty fucking terrible because
If you
like
follow our His Dork Materials podcast, and you've heard me be like, I'm going to be a terrible fucking person to watch this with, I've been a Jonathan the entire time watching this.
because
Wait,
like
do you mean
Heather,
objective or subjective?
Object.
just objectively, like I even if I really like something,
Yeah.
I don't just like. I have to really like something in order to just completely blow past the flaws of it.
Totally.
And so when like Heather will be watching something with me and I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm enjoying this. And then she looks at me and is like, enjoy it more. Which doesn't,
Yeah, that
that
checks
happens
out.
kind of frequently.
That checks out.
Because he's not.
Yeah.
Because I'm enjoying, because I'll be sitting there and being like, oh, this is really good.
Yeah.
But I'm not just like bouncing in my seat,
Yeah.
like fucking in love with everything happening. And like,
That is-
I can't just
Yep.
always be up like that all the time.
Kari
No,
and I have
what
that
I'm yelling at you
exact
normally is
situation, that same
when
dynamic.
I'm crying at something, just sobbing, and I look over and this fucking sociopath is sitting next to me, kind of giggling sometimes, and I'm just like, the fuck are you?
Yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes we
like-
cry at the same stuff. Sometimes we cry at different stuff. And
I
that's
think
just,
the only time watching movies with Johnny got weird was during Schindler's List. Like, what the fuck, man? Come on.
so my issues with Canto Bite in this
Keeping it in.
is yep, it's just roll with it.
Yep.
Is that first of all, if you have like nobody at like the Kentucky Downs. Sorry,
What?
like nobody at that place.
The
Like
what?
what? The Emerald Downs? Like where like the fuck? The horse races. It ties in. Fuck off. Okay, so you're at the horse races, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
mhm, Always. Every Sunday.
Yeah.
So you're at the horse races, and the horses are
Peepaw.
running the track.
Yep.
If the horses running the track are doing like damn near structural damage to your building,
Yeah.
you have built it wrong.
Yes.
Correct.
So when they're like pouring drinks on the bar and the Faithers are running around and it's causing drinks to spill and it's causing the entire building to shake, they built that building wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, but it's not coming down.
But they're losing product.
Yeah, I
Like,
don't
it's-
think they
it makes
built
no
it.
sense.
I don't think they built it originally for what it's being used for currently.
I would argue against that.
Yeah.
But
Why?
I mean, maybe it's just
because like if
we don't. I mean, there's
You're telling me
nothing-
there's nothing else that could have been racing on that planet in that spot originally?
if you know you're going to be racing those things, you fucking put more of like you lay some concrete under those buildings.
I will dispel this entire argument / discussion in the sense that this is a planet that is so much bound by just excess. It probably doesn't really matter because they'll probably just replace it tomorrow anyway.
I just say that's a 5-year building, so you know they're gonna just rebuild it again.
I don't know, like-
it's the I-5
Yeah.
of casinos. Oh,
Shots fired.
Wow. Sorry to I-5 and Justin Theroux.
Yeah, yeah. But,
But
like,
thank you
I'm
to
sorry.
Benicio
No,
del Toro.
I'm sorry. No, Olympia to Seattle I-5.
Oh, I fucking
knows
I don't
what
even.
it
I know.
did.
Yeah.
I know, man. Woof.
but then also in addition to that, you then introduce these creatures that are the lankiest, just like furry things.
Yeah.
And you just have them busting through concrete like it's not like, no, these are not built to do that.
That's not a rhino. Where's my rhino, please?
Yeah, like if you're gonna have a creature do that, have them have some sort of like
Armadillo.
armor, like
Yeah.
natural
I mean,
plating.
I
Like
now
I-
need to see space armadillos going through some concrete.
Yes.
Giant space armadillos.
I'm about it.
I think
They can be
that
furry, that sounds cute.
the design came from the fact that they wanted them to look big and cute and like endearing.
and something that could run fast.
Yeah.
But then they put them in a situation where they had to just tear ass
Destroy
through
entire-
buildings.
yeah.
That makes no sense.
Well, because racing greyhounds is boring.
That's true.
They're basically giant greyhounds.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
If a
You can't just race
greyhound runs into our door,
One
The
of those
door is
things,
stopping it.
One of those things will break, and it isn't the door.
them. Hey, so when we rescue greyhounds, don't run them into the door.
no.
That's what I'm saying.
They're so.
I'm just chucking greyhounds at doors now to test this hypothesis.
So are we rescuing them from Josh? Is what I just heard.
yes.
Hey, I have an experiment.
I will say
Mythbusters.
the music on Canto Bite isn't great either. Like
No.
it's very like 1940s old
Yeah.
Hollywood style, and it doesn't really fit Star Wars.
Not at all. It's like it suddenly becomes big band.
Yeah,
You
there's
mean
like
the cantina. Cantina music didn't know if it's Star Wars.
but that's
I mean, that was more of just like a product of the time. Like they literally, like they had to make all. I mean, I don't. Did they even have fucking synthesizers when the original trilogy came out?
yeah, but that was a band. Like there's no big band in the scene playing the music.
No.
It's just the score suddenly becomes a big band
Yeah.
Yeah.
theme, and it doesn't like.
I think that they were trying to go with like some, I guess like imagery that would have brought about ideas of like the, I don't know, like Gatsby-esque sort of
Yeah.
movies.
Show me a lounge singer, though,
Yeah.
if you're going to go that route.
I mean, they did in,
Solo.
and also
Return of the Jedi.
Yes, and none of us liked that.
None of us
so.
liked that. I'm not
What
saying
was that?
dedicate 5
What was
minutes
that guy's
to it.
fucking name again?
That guy was
Boot
no,
Scooch Birtles or something.
No, the little singing furry dude
Yeah,
was
hit me with
Joe
that.
Yowza.
That's not the one I want.
No, the little flute playing
You know the
butthole
one
face
you
guy
know the one I want.
is Droopy McCool.
Yeah. Droopy McCool. Damn.
And then Cy Snoodles was the lady singer with the little tubey mouth and the
God
lipstick.
damn, George.
Droopy Miss Noodles. Fuck, I like that.
The only issue I have with Kelly Marie Tran is that
Oh, here it goes.
oh no.
Heather, come back.
Yeah, Heather, we need you.
is that they set up her sister to be a lot cooler of a character, and we don't get to see that character.
That is true.
Like you get this badass character that's running around the ship, doing a bunch of shit, and then she dies, and we're stuck with this weepy.
Well, actually, I think that kind of fits in with a lot of what this movie is trying to get across. And
Yeah, and not
allow
to
me
be that guy.
explain you why.
Not to be that guy.
Yeah.
But like, her sister just died. Like, maybe don't be a dick about it.
A lot of people's just died. You don't see
Yeah.
Poe Dameron being upset that he gets
He's
a
not
bunch of people
related to
killed.
any of
Yeah,
them.
or Diego
don't know
Luna.
how
You know,
many
we've all
hundreds-
lost people in this war. I've been in this since I was 6.
How many
Yeah.
hundreds of people died in that first scene?
Yeah.
But like, so the thing with Poe Dameron though is that like he's looking at it from
It's a numbers game.
only a strategical like standpoint,
Yeah.
and it's just a numbers thing. Yeah, it's just like we won today. That's all he cared about.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And it doesn't matter like who got lost. His viewpoint is we lost them. They're heroes. We won.
Yeah.
End of story.
The ends always justifies the means.
Yeah,
That's-
as opposed to like I lost somebody today.
Yeah, and I think that I mean that provides an interesting foil between Poe and then also the journey that Rose and Finn go on. And again, unfortunately, they kind of take that and then do what this movie does, kind of make a joke about it and then move on. However, I think that what's important about Rose's character and the reason why I mean, at least narratively, it seems like they set it up that way to where, you know, what we would see as maybe the less interesting character of those two sisters gets to be in the spotlight is because that's exactly what this film's about. It's about anyone being able to muster the courage or the strength or whatever to take part in this rebellion and to take part in being a force for good. And again, I mean, whatever happens in the film and however it ends, which kind of an unnecessarily shoehorned romance and kiss scene. Again, actually, that was Heather and I just watched that scene again this morning, and I don't think that the scene in of itself is bad. Like, I think that to have Finn,
That was you and I watching this.
yeah, well, I mean, Heather, yeah, okay, we were all talking about it, but to have Finn flying into the laser beam, like looking to make the sacrifice play,
Yeah.
and then to have Rose take him out after those two have been on this, albeit probably unnecessary for the film, but like this journey.
Very ham-fisted, very like.
But I mean, I think that
Here's the thing: everybody's like, again, this was the moment where like playing in Shades of Grey just didn't work for this movie.
No, exactly. But I mean, I think that it paid itself off somewhat in that the character was able to do something like that. But again, I don't think it necessarily made the film better for it. But and
My biggest issue with that scene is that she's like, that's how we're gonna win, not by destroying things we hate, but by saving things we love, and then kisses him, and then the fucking door to the rebel base just gets fucking blown in the background of that same shot.
But Johnny, it was literal fireworks, that kiss.
Fuck off. And this is like,
Yeah.
there's the like,
There's a
maybe it's meant to be the
there is
like
a dissonance between
Yeah.
what we're seeing in the foreground and the background, and one of those things actually fucking matters.
Yeah.
And we actually care about.
maybe that is like the thing they're trying to do, is to show that like almost like very naivete, like optimism of just like, we're gonna win because we're gonna do good, as like everybody's getting fucking wrecked in the background.
It doesn't seem like we're, at least in that scene, like it doesn't really seem like we're supposed to be rooting for Rose's character in that moment.
No, we're supposed to be like, look behind you. Look what you just
Is
did.
there a moment in this movie we're supposed to root for Rose's character?
So I was just talking about when Finn is flying into the laser beam,
Yes.
and Rose basically takes him out and is like, as Johnny said, like, we're not going to win by blowing shit up. We're going to win by saving what we love. And then she kind of plants that smooch on Finn.
Who's like, sexual assault?
Yeah.
Folks?
Well, that's
Anybody else see
That's
this?
the funny thing, because it doesn't feel like a consensual scene.
It's
He's
not.
like, where the fuck did that come from?
Very much so.
And then
Because she's been
unconscious.
trying
Yeah.
to kill him for this entire movie until that moment.
exactly. So, yeah.
Because that's how you know boys like you, girls, is when they hit you.
Oh no.
Yeah. No.
That's pretty much what Rose did in this goddamn movie.
He's like, I'm gonna kill us both. Oh, we both lived. Yay! Smooch.
Yeah. But
And that is one of the things I was talking to a buddy of mine about the movie after I had seen it, where which, as the listeners may know, RJ and I were talking about the movie, and we were talking about
RJ, come back.
I know, we miss you, RJ. We were talking about how like Finn's arc seemed like it would have been completed had he been able to make that sacrifice play, and then this movie was just like, no.
Well, the whole story arc feels like it should have ended with this film, because this feels like the end. Like, if reworking the finale a little bit, this would be the finale of a story.
Yeah, like
this was the
very
standoff.
last shot of the Resistance all gathered on the Millennium Falcon and like having a fucking like tea party and just like hanging out and being bros.
Yeah.
And then like circle wipe to the credits, like, oh, that was the last movie, right?
Yeah.
Like regardless of whatever threads are left dangling, like that is the final shot.
Yeah, there's no setup for any more movies. There's no like threads to continue forward.
no,
like it's
none.
all
it's all been snipped and
Snoke's
clipped.
dead.
Yeah.
There's no big bad guy. There's like Kylo's out there to
Which I
still
guess
be defeated.
I guess the understanding is that now Kylo is the big bad guy.
but he's not,
he's not.
interesting that
No,
way.
No,
And
like
he's not interesting that way. It's not the arc you just created.
No.
You created somebody who has descended into madness, but he's a harm to himself, not so much others.
Yeah.
Maybe Hux.
Maybe Hux, yeah.
He's definitely a harm to Hux.
definitely a harm to
Is there
Hux.
Hux and a wall nearby?
Yeah.
Then we're great. I'm very interested to see how they'll open this to fix that, because
That is.
You guys are right. They snipped and clipped and it's done. It's like Ryan.
I did not mean to
They got the vasectomy.
No,
There's no more
it's
kids.
for you.
introduce that phrase.
I feel like Ryan Johnson got mad because he was like, I want to write the last one. And they were like, no, you get to write this one. And he's like, well, I'm going to write the last one.
Yeah. I think for me personally, like, at least until we see the next film, Rise of Skywalker, that is the most damning piece of criticism that I can throw at this film, is that it literally has now required the next and final movie
To do legwork.
to build its complete own like starting point, like starting, like beginning, middle, and end. Like this film does feel like a finale, and God, who knows why it was done this way? Like, I don't. Again, maybe there's a lot that we can attribute to Ryan Johnson being, like a director who's fairly early on in his career. I didn't want to say amateur because he's obviously not. He's a fantastic director, but
No, yeah, it's not amateur. It's like just maybe
just
a little
not-
green.
Yeah, maybe just lacking a little bit of the kind of the foresight to see like what sort of path he was setting his film on.
In no way do I feel like they set it up for success in this, because he's never directed a giant blockbuster like this before.
Yeah.
He's directed big, like what feels like an indie film that's become
Totally.
big.
Yeah, no, he is. I would say he still is an indie director, even though he's written The Last Jedi. He's definitely wasn't gonna be an indie director before. He's probably gonna go back to being an indie director now.
Yeah.
And I wish beyond all wishes that they would have given him Solo. Because
That would have been the movie for him.
I think that his writing totally would have matched up with that character, with that story, so much better than what we got. And just like, again, being able to write a bunch of quippy assholes in somewhat fantastic situations or unconventional situations, like, is his forte.
I feel like we would have gotten Jabba the Hutt and all of those characters in that Ryan Johnson, because that is Brick and Looper is what the Solo movie should have been.
Yeah. Abso-fucking-lutely.
Instead of
It's starting with Brick into Looper.
Yeah.
Like, have him be a child, like a shitty, jaded child. Maybe not so much in, like, the film noir aspect, but maybe. I
But
don't
instead,
know.
we just got Star Wars Light, and I turned into what it was. So,
On that note.
final thoughts on the old Rise of Skywalker. I think we've
Honestly,
dragged
after
on a bunch of stuff.
going over all of the nitpicks and the criticism, I think that I'll change my my rating.
Oh,
Yeah.
What?
I would give it an 8 out of 10 George Clooney's.
There you go.
Because fuck all y'all.
I'm
Fuck
gonna-
all the haters. It's a good film. Go see it. Watch it again.
Oh,
I'm
by
gonna
all
go watch
means,
it
like,
again.
fuck the haters on this. Like,
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
damn.
Well, because
like,
the haters on this,
Yeah,
the-
except for you, Bill Hader. We love you. You're not.
the haters on this
Big ol' pony
movie,
boy.
don't have legs to stand on.
Yeah.
Because they hate this movie for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Because anybody who hates this movie only hates it for the wrong reasons. People who don't think this is the best Star Wars film, they've got some legs to stand on, because they usually will give you some reasons we gave you today. I think a 7 is still, it's a solid film.
Yeah.
It is nowhere near a prequel bad. But it's not, it's not Force Awakens. It's not the original trilogy to me. It's a solid movie.
it's not as it's not fun for most of it, if any of it.
Here's the ultimate thing I feel about it. It is a middle movie. It is. I say this about every second movie in a trilogy. It's the shit you slog through to get to the last one.
We are kind of spoiled though with second films historically. Like,
I mean,
Really?
you can't
Tell
beat
me a
Attack of the
good
Clones.
second film.
I mean, I think that maybe not so much recently, but like when I think of second films, I think of like Spider-Man 2, which was probably the best of the three. I think of
those three, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those aren't great movies either.
I know, like,
That's
what-
not a good bar.
But it probably, that movie has the same issue where it doesn't have a narrative through into the third one. They're just
Yeah.
like, we're done. Fuck you,
it's
do whatever you want.
that's
Very
true, and
individualized.
that's my concern, is that we're going to have a repeat of history.
The Sandman's gonna come start punching on Finn and Poe.
Yeah.
I did.
I mean,
I
I'd
did
watch that.
recently-
I'd watch
Oh,
that.
it's Toy Story. Toy Story
Yeah,
2
Toy
was
Story 2.
better than Toy Story.
Yeah.
Dark Knight.
Oh yeah.
Arguable, but I really love
more so than Batman. Oh, we're gonna have tune in next time for our fucking discussion of the Batman trilogy, the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, because I'm about to fucking school some nerds.
we should do those.
I would love. I would
throw that on the docket. Yeah,
love that.
Yeah.
But like,
You know what we should do? We should do those on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I think that'd be great for you guys to do.
get the fuck out of here. So
we're gonna leave now because we're all throwing our mics at Harley.
What I would like to say is that I am extremely proud of everybody at this table, that everything we have said this episode didn't need to start with, look, I don't hate women, I just need to say this right now.
First off, that's not our podcast.
That's not.
If you thought that was going to be anybody's argument,
No.
at this
I'm just
table.
saying, like, this movie has that ingrained into it so much right now.
Hence the reason that I said the haters of this movie don't have legs to stand on.
Yeah.
Because if you start any argument with, I don't hate blank, but hear me out. No, you do. You are a misogynistic. You are a racist. You are xenophobic. You are those things. While you might not be the worst of the worst, you are those things. If you start any sentence with, I'm not a racist, but I don't hate women, but no, you do. You do at some level. It has been programmed in you to do that. The end.
Yeah. But like so much
Just before we get
critiquing this
too far
movie-
away from this point, I would just like to state that I definitely don't hate women.
Perfect. Good.
And
good.
neither should you, listener.
Yeah. But like so much of critiquing this movie has now become in order to critique the movie, you also have to put up so many walls to defend yourself.
Absolutely.
And
Except
that
for
is
none of us had to today. There
No,
is
but
a
what
way
I'm saying
to critique
is
this
that,
movie where
like-
you don't have to.
no, the internet itself has made that the default thing, though, that where this movie polarized so hard that there was no middle area to critique it outside of just like, I mean, us all at this table, we all obviously know each other and we're not coming at it from that way.
Yeah.
But anybody on the outset, as soon as they see any argument for or any argument against, it immediately becomes, oh, you're a fucking SJW piece of shit, or you are
Misogynistic.
And like there's no
Xenophobic,
racist. Like there is almost like finding the middle ground to just be able to talk about this movie in any constructive criticism sort of way.
I mean, I kind of feel like if you can't talk about a film like this from like a critical middle ground, you're just kind of an idiot.
Yeah.
Like that is like how lazy. I mean, and I'm going to say this in either direction. Like to level to come at anyone who has criticism or who enjoys this film, and obviously that, you know, they're a social justice warrior, to come at anyone who doesn't like this film and say that, you know, they're a piece of shit or racist, or I mean, without actually hearing like an argument like that, that's just lazy discourse.
That's lazy discourse in life. Like, not just this movie. If you can't have a conversation with somebody where their views are different from yours, then you're just being lazy. I mean, if they have traditionally given you very not okay opinions, I mean, sure, then. But if it's their first time having a conversation about something, maybe shut up and listen to these people talk for a second.
I mean, I think they're. I mean, not to fall into the there were good people on both sides sort of thing, but like,
well, we're talking about movies, not other things.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, not to make excuses for anyone either, but I don't know. Like, I think that we have fallen into this weird dynamic of talking about media and film, and especially like anything that tries to maybe push the boundaries a little bit as far as inclusion and representation, and just immediately think that, oh, it's some big fucking conspiracy theory in either direction. Like, if that's your opinion, screw you. I don't want to talk to you about anything. You just continue living on in that little echo chamber that you found yourself in, and leave me alone.
Yeah. Like, the whole point of this is just to get together and talk about things.
Yeah.
And it's not everything needs to be a me versus you.
Exactly.
And that's what happened
after
this movie came out.
We all should be fans. We all should enjoy this, or maybe not. And there are very good reasons to and to not. But again,
After everything we've said today,
Yeah.
if those are your viewpoints and you don't like the movie, I understand.
Totally.
If those are your viewpoints, but you still do like the movie, I get it.
totally.
But if you're just like, go kill yourself, Kelly Marie Tran,
Yeah.
because you ruined Star Wars, don't fucking talk to me.
She didn't. Also, like anytime you're criticizing a movie, if the person's not a producer, a writer, or director,
don't take it out on the
they
actors
don't
and the
Yeah,
actresses.
don't
still
take it.
don't still
They're-
don't threaten to kill them. But
I mean,
like,
don't do that to anyone. Like, I don't care if you even wrote it. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
don't threaten to kill anybody, but you
Yeah.
place blame. If you're upset with how a movie turned out, place the blame where it goes, and it's not the
on
actors.
yourself for expecting too much of fucking
Yeah.
a blockbuster
Yes.
film.
Yes.
You asshole.
While we have had conversations about the
Yeah.
director today, at no point do any of us think he's a bad director. We just think that this maybe wasn't his best directorial.
This might have been out of his wheelhouse. He
Yeah.
might have been handed too much.
Yeah.
And you know, none of us are like, oh, that Ryan Johnson, he sucks so much. He
Yeah.
needs to not be on this planet or ever
I'm
do this again.
Just
Yeah.
excited to see whatever he decides to put out next.
Jonathan Clooney's change, stay
Yeah.
the same.
Oh.
Seven. Still.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that actually that would my prior change of score would probably be the same. It's still a 7, like on the sliding scale. I mean, I still like I like this film. I definitely would give it a higher. I definitely rate it higher than the prequels. I don't think I would necessarily rate it as high as the original trilogy, and I don't think I'd rate it necessarily as high as The Force Awakens. So I think 7 fits considering where I'd put everything else.
Yeah. My biggest issue with this movie is that every time Ray and Luke were my Poochie, where every time they weren't on screen, I was just asking, where are Ray and Luke?
Yeah.
Because there were a
that's
couple,
what this movie was written for.
yeah, because there were like I think like the 4th or 5th time where it cut back to the slow moving car chase, I was like, do I have to sit through another one of these scenes again? And I did, and then nothing changes for most of those.
No.
Like you get tiny little bits of information, but so much of it is just cut back to the ship. Leia's still in a coma. Poe's still kind of
Super aggro about stuff.
aggro.
Holdo's not telling anybody shit.
Lord Dern's not saying anything, even when he just like Poe literally says, which I had kind of forgotten because I don't watch this movie a ton just because it is 2.5 hours long, and like big chunks of it, there's like some of it is a slog to get through, so like it's not my number one to just put on and rewatch.
It's a 2.5 hour. It's a 2.5 hour film. Fuck me, 2.5 hour film, and I think there's probably like a very enjoyable hour in there.
Yeah, but Poe at one point literally says, "Just tell us you have a plan, and I'll be happy."
Yeah.
and she's like, "Well, why don't you go shut up?" And I'm just like,
Why don't you go dry up in a lake?
it's like this is it's just as you've said before,
Bad
it's just
management.
it's just contrived drama to
Yes.
push the plot forward.
Bad middle management.
But I think other than the fact that they've seemed to put like a weird brown filter over everything on this movie, like the everything is like color corrected slightly beige for most of it. I feel like compared to like The Force Awakens is really bright and colorful.
Yeah, that's actually true because that last planet that they're on has, even though it's
white and blue.
yeah,
it's
but it
still
has kind of a weird that's
Tan.
true.
khaki
everything's
color
Yeah,
to it. Yeah,
I was noticing that actually rewatching it this afternoon.
Like,
So, like-
even when they clear the salt.
What was that?
It's me tasting the salt. Even when they clear the salt to like the red like
Yeah.
crust underneath it, it's like still weirdly not red.
yeah.
It's dried blood rust color.
Yeah, but it's. I mean,
Rust coloration.
you still have. I'm gonna say this in every movie that she's in. I think Daisy Ridley. This is a 7 for Daisy Ridley and Mark Hamill.
Yep.
I will tell you what. Every actor in this movie is still very attractive.
Oh God. Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
doing
no,
it on a. I'm not doing it on looks. I'm not that shallow, but like.
Oh, I will right now, though. I'm going to tell you right now. They can get it.
Yeah.
I will take me some John Boyega. I will take me some Daisy Ridley.
I'll take me some Benicio del Toro.
I can't remember the guy who does Poe Dameron's name to save my damn
Oscar
life.
Isaac.
Oscar Isaac.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, he is.
Oscar Isaac can get
Can
it.
get it.
Is just
also
Laura
so
Dern
dreamy.
can still get it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
they made
her.
Maybe not so much Mark Hamill. I think I'm okay.
Maybe not Domhnall Gleeson in this one.
That's the other thing I was going to say. Like from the very moment he's on screen, Domhnall Gleeson looks like he's been going through chemo treatments. Like his skin is waxy. He's got dark circles around his eyes. Like,
He looks fucked up. He looks very
like,
stressed.
When he popped up on screen, I was like, "This isn't Domhnall Gleeson. Where did Hux go? Who is this?"
Wait a minute.
And it turns out it was
Yeah,
Hugs.
It's Hugs.
I definitely,
Yeah.
when we rewatched Force Awakens, I was like, oh, his hair was really nice in this film
Yeah.
because it's so bad.
But I think
it's
that's
so bad.
I think that's kind of the point. And actually what I think is going to happen, and unfortunately I think they just totally dropped the ball of how they handled this in this movie, is that I don't necessarily think we're going to get like a full tried and true redemption arc for Kylo Ren.
Oh, I hope not.
And
No, please don't.
And I think that Hux is gonna be the one who finally gets pushed to that last straw and like might potentially like take them all out. Like I think that if they have the fucking cojones to do what I hope they're gonna do, like I hope that they
You're gonna Rogue One this time?
no, I hope that I hope that they're setting Hux up to be the person that they just push 1 point too far, and he's like,
He
"Fuck
just
you guys."
crashes the whole
Kinda.
fucking thing into the ground.
Kind of, yeah. That's kind of how I feel they're taking this, and I would be if they did that, I think that would totally pay off this whole arc that he's had, because I mean that was my initial reaction too when you first see him, when you first see his character, when you first see Hux.
Yeah.
He looks fucking rough.
And it turns out
Yeah.
that the entire trilogy was about anxiety in the workplace.
Hell yeah! I mean, yeah. That's,
some nice violence in the workplace as well.
Also that, yeah.
Also-
Harassment.
I also like to say, like, I'm okay with Snoke dying.
oh yeah, we didn't really
If
talk
they-
about that.
If they,
I hope it has a bigger payout.
oh yeah,
I'm okay with it too,
for
but I'm
sure.
kind of still hoping for a bigger.
I want to know why Ben Solo turned to the dark side, because he's the son of our best friends that we've known our whole life.
Yeah.
And he's just
And we still
Turn to the
don't
dark
know.
side.
We
Fucking asshole.
still don't
Yeah.
know. You know, is it just because he was a spoiled little rich kid who just ended up being
like
a
one
bad
line of
Turns
dialogue is
out-
all it takes.
If you want to
solve
know,
that.
Read the book.
check out the new comic from Marvel Comics in stores
Probably.
now.
Probably.
There is a Kylo Snoke comic meow. But
I will tell you what. Just to go back to my really shallow points for real fast.
Dude, bring it back.
Snoke can get it.
Maybe Kylo.
Snoke can get
Adam
it.
Can
Maybe-
drive there. Adam Driver in this film can get it a little
Oh
less.
no, that fucking really? Oh
little
god,
less.
did you not see that giant torso?
I'm sorry. Please go. Can we please go back to my man pulling off his helmet and me going, "That's not the hair you have underneath that. It's magic space hair right there."
No, his hair, when like
That's
they
true.
do this shot of like him holding the helmet in front of his head to like reveal himself, his hair is 2 times wider.
Yeah.
And like the volume on
I know
it
I
is
said
like,
this in Force Awakens, but that hair, that magic space hair.
yeah, like
And
he
in
just
this
came
film-
fresh out of the
Homeboy knows how to keep that shit voluminous.
Yeah.
it's
And in this film,
wash, rinse,
Rinse.
repeat.
Yeah.
Always,
always
repeat.
And in this film, he's not as bad as Hux. Hux
Just looks rough.
looks like somebody's been keeping him up every night, and
Wait.
not in a good way.
Which I think is what's happening, and I think that's
That man's crying in a fetal position all night, every
All
night.
night.
I think that's what I honestly think that's what we were supposed to take.
Yeah,
from that
but Adam
characterization.
Driver does not look great either.
No.
His hair is a little bit too long, so
It
it's
is.
starting to like get all wilted looking.
Yeah,
and not
the
voluminous.
internal struggle that's happening inside of Kylo,
is not doing great things for his roots.
it's not.
At all.
Well, and
not.
it's
Split
starting
ends
to have
all over the
it's having a physical manifestation on
Yeah.
him. He's starting to look like he is struggling from within outwardly, and so is Hux. But Hux's is because somebody's beating
beating
him.
the shit out of
I think he's being haunted
by a ghost.
by a ghost.
Yeah.
Something bad's happening to our man.
Yeah,
Where was our fearless leader?
seriously.
I think we've
Yeah.
touched on everything. Thank you everyone for listening.
Well,
and-
actually, we did miss one thing.
Oh, jeez.
No,
and that is
that's
talking
fine.
about the milk scene.
Nope,
I'm
we're
okay
done.
with it.
Okay,
No, and we're
thank you
good.
for listening to our.
That blue.
I'll say
Alright,
the same thing that Joshua said earlier today while we were watching that scene. Like, where did you think blue milk came from?
Yeah, seriously. Where did you think it came from?
It came from titties somewhere.
That's very true.
Just did not the titties you were expecting.
Hit up our Instagram at the Moist Boys Podcast. Also, get us
Smash that like button.
smash the like, give us 5-star review
Ring
on
the bell.
iTunes. Ring a bell somewhere.
5 stars on Yelp.
Join
Ring
us.
a bell, bring the cows home.
Yep.
Join us next week for what will be our last been out of theaters film.
Yeah. Solo, a Star Wars story. It's the last.
Is our last one right before
right, yeah.
we go and see.
Only 2 more weeks till Rise of Skywalker, and our
Guys, it's so exciting.
big 5-hour discussion about that movie. Probably.
God.
Yeah.
So yeah, we plan on bringing you guys that content as fast as possible. We
Yeah.
plan on seeing it on the 21st together, and then coming and recording for you guys. So
And then releasing it that day. Hopefully, we might do a live stream.
I don't know. It depends on how long we talk about it.
That's exciting.
Maybe the camera actually works this time.
Maybe I will definitely. I'll be live streaming from the Moist Boys Instagram.
Cool.
I'll get it set up for that.
Yeah, we also have a Twitch. I'll try to get it. Try to do a Twitch stream.
So get excited, guys, because this is
Get hyped.
we're almost there. You just have to listen to us rag on Solo a little bit. I'm gonna be
give us a
honest
little
with you.
more of your time.
I'm gonna be really honest with you. If
you made it through this, I feel like.
if you made it through this, you'll make it through Solo. And if you made it through Solo the movie, you can definitely make it through the podcast.
Whoa.
I was gonna say, and the plus side with Solo, much in the same as we did with Revenge of the Jedi, it was only 3 of us here, so there was a lot less tangenting going on.
Yeah.
And we
Except for Jonathan was one of those 3, so there was still
tangents.
and we went less hard but more negative. I feel like too.
Yeah. Because
Oddly
like
enough.
also like we got a half hour into that and we were like, well, there's nothing left to say about this fucking movie,
And then an
like
hour
we just
later-
went on.
And then we ragged for another little while.
So that'll be
time.
exciting. But thank you all for listening, and come back next week. Don't forget to check out His Dark Materials. We're talking about Mandalorian and His Dark Materials.
Yeah, please come listen to us talk about the Mandalorian.
I think by the point this comes out, though, those are almost about wrapping up. So you're getting into penultimate episode territory in both of those shows. So things should be getting spicy on that. Also, I don't know for we might still be doing the Action Boys podcast. Hopefully, we'll have some episodes out for you guys. Then, if we don't have any role playing ones, might do like a Q&A style thing.
Ooh.
To kind of like fill the gap a little bit. It is almost the holiday season, so we'll probably take a break between Christmas and sometime January, February time with some of these podcasts. We have some banked up on some of our shows, but not all of them. So, holidays are always an exciting time for everybody, but thank you for listening.
Also, really quick, I just want to do one more shout out to thank you for being here for our 1-year anniversary episode.
I forgot about that
thank you
again.
for being here for 1 year.
It's been 12 months of uploading. I think this is like there was a couple months that we slowed down on uploading, but
we've been keeping it strong.
Yeah,
Army strong.
We've been keeping it strong, but also
Wrist strong.
starting 2 more podcasts, which is probably
Detrimental too.
yeah. But we're gonna.
We love doing this for you guys. So please go to our Patreon. Please
give us money.
Well, give us money. Give us a 5-star on iTunes. Let us know you're listening to us. Email us just to tell us you love us.
Yeah, if you share that, we have what are they called? We have ads. We're ad supported on some of our podcasts. So if we get more listens, that's more money for us. That means more episodes for you guys.
Yeah, we love doing this for you. We want to continue doing this for you. At some point, we would like to do this full time for you.
Yes,
3 out of 4 of us on this podcast right now have full-time jobs, and so we're trying to make this work for you around
I'm a
those.
stay-at-home dad.
Well, I mean, he also has a full-time job.
Which one of us? I feel like we're all busy as fuck. So
Yeah.
One of us is a stay-at-home dad, which is a full-time job.
Which is a full-time
It's
job.
a full-time job as well. It's a 24/7 job, baby.
absolutely.
Except
mean-
for the times where I'm just like, watch a movie. I'm
Yeah.
going to be in my room, reading my phone, not paying attention
Except
to
for
you.
the times where you just like kind of
I need dad time.
Yeah, absolutely.
The 10 minutes when I get home from work that you disappear to go quote unquote poop.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I don't care because I'm like, he's probably just sitting on the
He's
bathroom rug right now, and
pulling
I
up-
don't give shit. Two
Pulling
shits.
up weeds, if you know what I mean.
What?
What?
Why would you take me off?
Don't make that hand motion.
Don't- Why not?
I was gonna say, that sounds like I'm just
Oh.
standing over the toilet, just like pulling out pubic hair in a rage.
I mean,
That's how you're dealing with your anxiety.
I mean,
Yeah.
that is also a coping mechanism.
Like
or so I'm told.
yeah.
All right, let's get out of here before we
Okay.
drive everyone away.
Please don't leave us.
Thank you for listening, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Love you.